If you run an e-commerce company or if you work for a marketing agency that works with e-commerce companies, then these are two of the most important metrics in e-commerce that you want to understand to know how effective your website is doing at converting customers into revenue. And I find that this is really simple and can highlight some issues that businesses are having and really point you in the right direction of what areas to focus on and what to fix. Hey, I'm Ryan. I'm a senior paid ad specialist and creative director at a marketing agency here in Sydney. If you'd like to get a free audit of your marketing or your website or e-commerce business, there'll be a link in the description down below where you can get more information on that. But if you're looking at e-commerce, the two figures that I think are extremely, extremely important, and I'm going to explain why they are so important and how this can be a superpower as you're analyzing an e-commerce customer, is conversion rate and average order value, right? These two metrics are so important and can really highlight the efficiency of your marketing and the efficiency of the business as a whole. I see too many marketers going into e-commerce accounts and just looking at total revenue figures, total users, this sort of thing, without understanding, has our business and our marketing got more efficient or less efficient, and where are we bleeding and why? And the reason that it's so important is that these two metrics, when you combine them together, gives you a figure that I like to call revenue per user, right? So on average, when someone comes to our website, how much money do we make? And so if we combine these two together, it gives us this nice figure called revenue per user. So let me do some math to give you some examples. Let's say our average order value is $100, and let's say our conversion rate is 3%. Right? If we times these together, then that gives us a revenue per user of $3. If this was 1.5%, right, then this revenue per user would be $1.50. Now, let's say our average order value instead is $200 and our conversion rate is 1.5%. Okay, well, now our revenue per user is $3 again. So 200 times by 1.5%. And if we increase this back up to 3% of $200, well, let's use an example of a recent client I've been working on. 3% of $160. So that's $1.60 times 3 is $3. 6 times 3 is $1.80. So $4.80 per user. And then I've got other clients or someone who's newer in their journey where they've only got a 1% conversion rate at the moment and their average order value is $80. So for this person, then they're making 80 cents per user. So see how you can put these together, and we can look at business number 1 and business number 2. Let's call it B1 and B2, like the bananas. You can see the difference in the efficiency of the website to convert users into dollars. So business number 1 gets $4.80 per user. Business number 2 only gets 80 cents per user. Now, this is neither good nor bad. Obviously, just looking at this, business 1 looks better than business 2. But then you have to look at how much does it cost to acquire a customer. Because I have a business that's somewhere in the middle of this in revenue per user, but they can acquire users for a lot cheaper than some other businesses just because of the type of the product and the way that it works on Meta is their cost per click is quite low. And so why this is super interesting is this starts to give you an idea of how much you can spend in order to acquire a user to your website. Now, you can't just spend up to $4.80 unless, they're making 100% margins But I mean, I mean, infinite margins, right? Unless they have zero cost of goods at all, because you're going to have margins in there, and then you're going to have overheads of the business and everything that you need to pay for as well. But what you can do is, if you're in marketing agency, you can start to just look at the margins of this, and you can kind of work out, right, I probably don't want to be spending more than that. So let's say for this customer here, their cost of goods was 25%, right? Which means their margin or their gross profit will be 75% of this, which would be 60 cents, right? So they're making $0.60 GP or gross profit per user that comes to the website. So if you're spending $1 CPC, cost per click, and then you're only making 80 cents in revenue and you're getting 60 cents profit, then you're losing 40 cents for every time you pay for this click. And you can say, all right, that's not worth it. We need to find a cheaper way to acquire users to our website. Maybe it's through SEO, maybe through organic traffic, or maybe you can improve the marketing and bring this cost per click down. And then you got a situation like with this client where they're making $4.80 per user and they were paying $1.50 CPC to acquire the user. And you're kind of looking at, again, 25% COGS, cost of goods sold. So 75% margin, which makes it what? $3.60. So $3.60 GP. So this is their, it's getting a little messy on the page, but this is their gross profit per user we bring to the website. And it's only costing us $1.50 in order to get that user. So basically that leaves $2.10 GP. Or you kind of look at like CM3, right? After your marketing expenses, then you're looking at this gross profit before you have to pay the business overheads and everything. But what this means is that this business is potentially in an opportunity to scale, where the focus is not so much on, okay, we need to reduce this cost per click, we need to improve the efficiency of our marketing. This can actually tell us, oh wow, the marketing is actually working, right? And it's generating us traffic. Let's scale this and try to scale this. And then what happens as we try to scale is our cost per click tends to go up, right? And so we then need to manage that. And there's also, you've got to look at cash flow of the business and everything like that. But we can see that, okay, in terms of business number 2, this seems to be doing quite well. Whereas business number 1, we don't want to scale yet, because if we scale, we're just losing more and more money. We need to work on efficiency first, either by lowering this, which is pretty much where every marketer focuses, is on just lowering this cost per click. But if you go in as a marketer and you say, okay, my goal is to create business growth, not just improve the marketing metrics. If I'm just looking at cost per click for this business, I'm probably not going to achieve great results, because this 80 cents per user, honestly, is just not very good. You can't really achieve success on Meta or Google at this rate unless you're in a very special circumstance. So for this client, how do we go ahead and improve this? Well, for starters, we can look at conversion rate, which is 1%. So this is quite low in e-commerce, 1%. I do have some clients that are under 1%, but the average order value is extremely, extremely high. You're looking at nearly $1,000. So it makes sense that their conversion rate would be low when it's such an expensive product. But when you've got average order value of around $80, we really need to push this up. And so how do we push this up? Well, that's where you look at things like conversion rate optimization on the website. For this client, is the product page optimized? Do we have enough information about the product? Are we selling it? Are we selling the benefits? Are we doing everything? Do we have good product images? Are the add to carts there? Do we have good optionality in terms of different colors or different variants or those sorts of things. So what can we do to fix this conversion rate at a product level? The other thing we can do is look at other products. And so for this client, they came to us and they are selling products at a market. And this one particular product sells really well at the markets. But then trying to market it online, the conversion rate was really low. However, what we noticed is that they had one of their other products that was selling really well, that this has actually had a higher conversion rate than this product we were marketing and a higher average order value. And so we looked into the sales of their business and the different orders and the things that people were ordering. And we noticed this other product that was selling for more, around $145. And the conversion rate on that product was higher, kind of around the 2% mark. So let's just call this $150 just to make the math easier for my brain. Right? So if we combine that together, that then gives us $3 per user, rather than focusing on this product, which was only selling for less and conversion rate wasn't as good. It was a much harder product to sell online. We focused on this product, had a higher average order value, higher conversion rate, and was more a recurring product as well. So people are more likely to come back and purchase this product. So this could be $3 per user on their first purchase, right? But then they could come back and buy it again and again, and the lifetime value of that customer can go up. Now, when looking at these two things, conversion rate and average order value, there's a whole bunch of things that you need to take into account for this as well. Firstly, with conversion rate, this can go up or down based on a number of things. You've got things like product page, so the type of product, the product page, even returning customers is really important, right? And something to factor in. So if you've got a business with low returning customers, then this is probably not going to be the biggest issue. However, if you're an established e-commerce brand or an established brand and you've got a lot of returning customers, then that's going to push your conversion rate up extremely high and make it look extremely good. And then using these figures like we did down here and then looking at your cost per click is not going to be eligible. It's not going to make sense because your conversion rate's really high on returning customers and could be a lot lower on new customers. So in that case, you kind of need to try to take out returning customers and look at the conversion rate just on new customers only. Right. So I've seen businesses where they will turn off ad spend and then conversion rate just goes through the roof, goes up to, 5, 7%. And then they're like, oh my God, our conversion rate is so good. We're doing such great marketing or made some great change. And it's like, yes, it's a good conversion rate, but it's a good conversion rate because everyone who's coming to your website now is a returning customer. But as soon as you start to acquire new customers, which you need to do in order to have the business grow, not stagnate, and then ultimately decline, this is going to go down because your conversion rate on new customers is only 2.5%, right? And so as we jack this up, then the average ends up coming down significantly. So there's a bunch of things that you need to factor into conversion rate, product page, returning customers, quality of marketing, right? So this can be if you're marketing on some crappy gaming website where the people coming through are not very good, then your conversion rate's going to go down. If you're using the traffic goals in Meta, your conversion rate is going to go down. So the quality of your marketing is really important. And so sometimes you will see conversion rates fluctuate and go up if the marketing's good or go down if the marketing's bad. So if you're not running high quality ads on Meta, if you're targeting the wrong keywords on Google, then that can go down. And often as you scale and spend more and more money, Meta or Google needs to go to wider and wider audiences in order to reach them. And so your conversion rate is likely to go down because it's now reaching colder and colder audiences. And so someone spending $4,000 per month on Meta versus someone spending, call it $100,000 per month are probably going to have different conversion rates on the same product page, assuming that the marketing is similar or the ads are similar, because you're just going to colder and colder audiences. And so keeping conversion rate high is important, but there's lots of factors that go into play there. You want to make sure that you're maximizing it at a product and product page level. And you also want to make sure that your marketing is really good. So you're attracting the right people who are actually going to convert and buy your product rather than getting a lot of traffic of bad people. So if your conversion rate's going down, look into all of these different things to try to work out why this could be happening. The other part of the equation is your average order value and how can you go about increasing this. We recently had a client that moved from one website platform to another for their e-commerce. So it was a website migration and a new design. And the average order value went from $120 down to about $90, which is a drop of, I think it's like 20 to 30%. Right, in their drop of average order value. So then we need to look into why this was happening and go about rectifying that to bring it back to where it was. So if you're doing a site migration, it's really, really important to look at conversion rates and average order values. We had a client do a site migration and they removed a bunch of contact buttons for people to call their business, which was on every product page. This is a very expensive e-commerce product. And what we realized after doing this migration, they had a month after the migration, the new website looked beautiful, but it wasn't converting nearly as well. And their revenue was down. And we realized that their conversion rate's down, not in e-commerce, which was up, but overall for the business is down because people can't find the phone number as easy in order to call. So sometimes there's kind of counterintuitive things that you might not think of, but their conversion rate suffered on the new website. But average order value, you want to try and get as high as possible. And there's different ways you can do this. You can do it with bundles. Bundling things together to sell them can be a really great way to do it. You can do different quantities. So did this with a supplement company where they only sold one quantity. And so rather than just selling, 500 grams worth of it, and that was their only product, we also listed it for 1 kilo, 3 kilo, and 5 kilo. And then you got a discount if you went for the bigger ones. And so we push people towards these larger quantities. And what we realize is not many people are going to buy 5 tubs of 1/2 kilo. But there will be some people out there who want to buy 5 kilos all at once, which is effectively 10 times the amount, right? And it might have been like 8 times the size in terms of revenue. So we were able to push the AOV up by changing different quantities. You can also look at pricing as well and increase your prices of things. This could also be products, right? What products are you offering? What are the prices of those related products? Are you recommending the right related products to people to get them to add more things to their cart? Then I'll just put in things like thresholds. So you can have thresholds for free shipping. Say it's $100. Anything over $100, you get free shipping. So that encourages people to spend more than $100. Let's say your average order value is $80, then it might be worth doing this to push people up to $100. But if your average order value is $150, then you might actually want to change this free shipping threshold and make it higher. Or maybe, you have free gift. You see a lot of companies doing this now, like free gift if you spend $300 and then you throw in a product that's worth $30 or $40 on the website, or depends on your e-commerce business, but the cost of goods is quite small to you. So someone gets a bonus that's worth a decent amount to them, but doesn't cost you a lot, and it can help push people up. So that's thresholds as well. And so you got to look at, all right, how can we increase this average order value? I would also say with products, it can be what products do you push people towards. So you might not change your SKUs and the types of products that you have, but you might do more marketing towards products that are higher value. Or on your website, you might focus on products that are higher value in order to increase this average order value. So doing this, I remember taking on an e-commerce client that when they started with us, their conversion rate was like 1% and their average order value was $60. So what's that? 60 cents per user, right? And their cost per click was significantly higher than this. So it wasn't going to work. And what we were able to do with the time with them is increase their conversion rate to around 3% and increase their AOV to 120. So we doubled their AOV. So like we 2x this and then we 3x this, which should equal 6x, right? Which is $3.60. Is that right? 120. Is that 6 times? Yeah. So we're able to 6x their revenue per user on new users. It was mostly new users at this point by focusing on AOV and focusing on conversion rate as well for this business, which made it easier for them to get to a break-even point and start being profitable, especially as the returning orders came through. So this gives you a bit of an understanding of these two metrics and why they're so important. Conversion rate and average order value gives you your revenue per user. It's also really good to look at margins to then get, I guess you would call it, profit per user, or maybe more accurately, gross profit per user is the metric that we looked at here, where this one was making $3.60 and this one was making 60 cents. So it's good to understand this gross profit per user, and it's good to understand your cost to get a user. So cost per user is really good as well. And so this is just your ad spend or total ad spend divided by users. Or if you're in Shopify, then it would be sessions, right? And so your goal then is to increase gross profit per user as much as possible and decrease your cost per user as much as possible in order to get into that position where you can scale. And then when you're in that position where, you've got good gross profit per user, your cost per click is significantly less, then it's about maintaining these while you go ahead and scale the business and grow the business and make the business better. So then it can be less about efficiency and constantly driving this down, because you're always going to have limitations in how low this can get. And there's always going to be limitations in how big this can get. But getting in a situation where this is healthy, and then you can focus on scaling. Because I do see e-commerce brands, or I do see marketers as well, trying to optimize this cost per user. They're spending all this time and energy on a fixed budget, trying to manage their cost per user, when really this equation looks really good already. And they're making great gross profit per user that they're getting. And they just need to go ahead and scale. And that needs to be the focus. The focus can shift from optimizing and lowering your cost per click to actually, all right, let's maintain that cost per click and maintain profitability as we spend more and grow your business more. So I think these are two of the most important metrics in e-commerce. I use them every single day to see how my clients are going. When I do reviews of clients, I am looking at this to see, are there any holes in this or are they performing well? And I find it really, really helpful to monitor the effectiveness of my campaigns. And so as I scale, I'll continue to monitor this. And I just think it's really useful. So what do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And again, if you want to get a free marketing audit and work with myself or my team, click a link in the description down below, and I'd love to help you out as much as possible.